Welcome to the Windy City. You're looking live at the University Club of Chicago, the home of the 0-1 Chicago Grizzlies, who are soon to do battle with the visiting 1-0 Lake Erie Beacons. A Beacons win will see them clinch a spot in the 2025 NSL playoffs, while a loss will end their season. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies seek their first win in their young franchise's history. Hey there, folks. My name is Jackson Bragman, getting you set for a big-time matchup here in Chicago. Our MC for the evening, Bill Buckingham, will officially introduce our lineups in a few moments here. But we've got some great talents in action today and some great storylines to accompany them. The French number 1 and number 2 will be on opposite sides of this exchange in Chicago. Former Ivy League adversaries will reunite their rivalry, and we've got experience, we've got youth, we've got top-ranked players, we've got up-and-comers, new to the professional squash tour, and it's all here, it's all happening in Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to the National Squash League. Bill Buckingham tells the patrons in Chicago to get seated and get ready for tonight's action. Let's throw down to Bill for our player introductions.
Two teams playing here. This match is broken up into 3 periods. The first period, 20 minutes long, is worth 1 point. The second period, also 20 minutes long, also worth 1 point. The third period, 30 minutes long, which is worth 2 points. If the teams are tied, if someone wins the first 2 periods and then loses the third and they're tied, we go to a shootout, which is set up very similar to a soccer penalty kick shootout. Best 3 out of 5. Players go on one at a time, play 1 point apiece until the first team wins. A couple of wrinkles thrown into the NSL. Substitutions. There are 2 substitutions allowed during the first 2 periods. Each period is allowed 2 substitutions. In the third period, the 30-minute period, 3 substitutions are allowed. The most important differential in the NSL is the power play. So during the first and second period, each team is allowed to call what we call a power play, which is 2 minutes long, and during that time, only the team that calls the power play can score a point. The other team can simply defend. In the third period, each team is allowed a 2-minute power play and a bonus 1-minute power play. Important note, no team can call a power play once we're within 4 minutes of the end of each period. Those are your NSL rules.
Thanks, Bill.
So there we hear the rules for tonight from Bill Buckingham.
Club Wi-Fi or using any Wi-Fi, please turn it off because issues with the scoreboard and with other tech issues with the streaming, too many folks are on Wi-Fi. So please check your phones before we get in.
No Wi-Fi for the patrons in Chi-Town. Here this evening, need a functional scoreboard, of course. And eloquently said by Mr. Buckingham on the rules. Don't worry, though, if you're all confused, if this is your first time watching the National Squash League. First of all, where have you been? Second of all, welcome, and thank you for joining us. If you like what you see today, hit the like button, hit subscribe so you never miss another NSL match. We have the playoffs coming up in just a few short weeks. Mustafa Asal is going to be taking the court in Greenwich, Connecticut next week in NSL action, so stay tuned, and we'll be here to keep you posted on the rules all evening long. So stay tuned for that.
Good evening,
Back
ladies
to Bill.
and gentlemen, and welcome to this presentation of the National Squash League. We have a fantastic match here for you tonight in Chicago, Illinois, at the beautiful University Club here in downtown Chicago, featuring the Lake Erie Beacons and your Chicago Grizzlies. Introducing the coach of the Lake Erie Beacons, Will Hopkins. From the United States, a 3-time All-American from the University of Pennsylvania, Nick Spazzeri. Spain, the 39th ranked player on the PSA Tour, Bernat Jama. And from France, the 13th ranked player on the PSA Tour, and fresh from a quarterfinal appearance at the British Open, please welcome Victor Crouin. And now, for your Chicago Grizzlies, head coach, Yoni Elios. He's assisted by Stu Haddon. From Malaysia, the 3-time All-American from Yale University, Yi Sien Siao. From England, just named the PSA Challenger Tour Player of the Year, Sam Todd. And from France, the 18th ranked player in the world, a legend of the PSA Tour, Greg Marche.
There you go.
There's the racket spin. We've seen better, we've seen worse. Not bad from Crouin. The Lake Erie Beacons will hold service to kick things off here from Chicago. Ceremonial daps. Pre-match, we are generally accustomed to a pre-match picture of some sort, and we're not going to have that here this evening. No opportunities for these young men to show off their smiles, but they will show off their skills here on the squash court. It looks like it'll be Victor Crouin starting things off for the Lake Erie Beacons, the world number 13, just competed in the quarterfinals of one of, if not the most prestigious events in professional squash, the British Open last week. So a good way for Victor to end an up-and-down season. He won the German Open this year. Many forget. It was a huge tournament victory for him. Quarterfinalist at the British Open. That's not a bad result at all. He's going to look to climb back into the world top 10 next season. It's been as high as 7 in the world. He is currently the French number 1 and reigning French national champion. A lot of college squash representation in this matchup here. Victor, of course, an alumni of Harvard University, where he won 2 individual collegiate national championships for the Crimson in both his freshman and his senior year. Great way to bookend an awesome career for one of the greatest players the college squash has seen over the last decade, and he will do battle with the up-and-coming English superstar. Heard it from Bill Buckingham. He is the PSA Challenger Tour Player of the Year at Sam Todd, a man who's been ranked as high as 65 in the world a couple of years back. Had a nagging ankle injury that saw him sidelined for a considerable amount of time, but this is a former British Junior Open champion. Had an incredible junior career under the tutelage of the late great Malcolm Willstrop, now working in Pontefract with James Willstrop, the son of Malcolm, and of course the former world number 1, the head coach of our current world number 1 and world champion Mustafa Asal. So Sam Todd in good hands, and he's picked up some major results over the course of this season, perhaps none bigger than his first round win at the British Open. So we have 2 gentlemen with great British Open showings this past week. Sam, obviously, from Britain, getting that wild card spot. He took on Farkas Balazs in the first round, the Hungarian number 1, world number 40. And Todd coming through that exchange to pick up a big-time first-round win at the British Open, making it to the final 32. He's currently ranked at 84 in the world, but after his showing at the British Open, once those points factor into his ranking, next Monday, he should find himself in the top 70. Still a couple spots off of that highest world ranking of 65, but you'd imagine that we're going to see a big-time breakthrough season for Sam Todd next year. Could find himself as a mainstay on the PSA World Tour, playing himself off of the Challenger Tour if he can help it. Sam has a really fun playing style. He has great hands, silky smooth touch into the front of the court. Looking forward to seeing him in his second NSL matchup of the season for the Grizzlies, who are 0-1, fell to the Newport Dragons 4-0 convincingly in that first encounter for Chicago. And Chicago is actually winless in their franchise's history. They were 0-2 in the regular season for the NSL in 2024, and here they are in their second season, 2025, looking to get their first win, hoping to have the wind in their sails here with the Chicago home crowd here to support the Grizzlies. Meanwhile, the Beacons, which I should say, by the way, Chicago out of playoff contention, regardless of if Chicago wins this matchup and regardless of how convincingly that win may come. Chicago has left themselves out of options and will not be able to qualify for the playoffs coming up later this month in Philadelphia at the Arlen Specter Center. Meanwhile, Lake Erie did pick up a shootout win over the Newport Dragons, the third team in that North Division. And because of that shootout win, Lake Erie controls their own destiny here. If Lake Erie wins, regardless of the method, whether it's a shootout, whether it's a 4-0 or a 3-1 victory, Lake Erie will make it to the playoffs as one of the 4 teams to have that distinct honor. And they will be your North Division champions as well. Of course, we have 4 teams in the playoffs out of the 9 teams in the NSL, the 3 division winners, and then 1 wildcard team. Newport has also clinched a spot in the playoffs. They lost to Lake Erie in a shootout, but they got 2 points from that encounter. And they, of course, won 4-0 against Chicago. So because of that, they have clinched a playoff spot. If Lake Erie loses this matchup to Chicago, Newport are your North Division champions. And they'll go to the playoffs, and they'll be the sole representation for the North Division in the playoffs. If Lake Erie wins the North Division. Newport will head to the playoffs as the wild card. Here we go, Chicago, Illinois, the Grizzlies, the Beacons. We are underway between Crouin and Sam Todd.
One love.
Todd on the board with an early stroke here in the first period. Of course, these first 2 periods, 20 minutes apiece, worth 1 point each. The third and final period, an extra 10 minutes, so it'll be 30 minutes and worth 2 points instead of 1. So even if a team goes down 2-0, after the first 2 periods. They can win the third and force an overtime shootout,
2-1.
which will be a best of 5 points showdown between the two teams. Each team sending on players for 1 point at a time to determine our winner. Early jockeying down the backhand line, little cat and mouse. Todd goes in short here, testing the waters. Of course, we have a big ranking gap between these two, but not necessarily reflective of the level gap. Todd coming back from injury. Safe to say he's considerably underranked, and will prove that over the course of next season. And it's a nice piece of deception on the trickle boast for Todd. He's building a little bit of a cushion here, 3-1, just over 2 minutes into the opening frame. In this first period, each team will be allowed 2 substitutions and 1 power play. As you know, if you've watched NSL action before, honest from Todd there, picking up the double bounce. Crouin cutting the deficit to 1. Now on a team's power play, as Bill Buckingham told us at the top of the broadcast, only the team on power play can score for those 2 minutes. No substitutions allowed for those 2 minutes. The attacking player going to want to rack up as many points as possible in as quickly a fashion as they can. The defending player looking to stretch rallies out. The attacking player can hit 5 winners and 5 tins, and at the end of the day, their team will be awarded 5 points, the opposing team none. So no harm, no foul for any unforced errors. You really want to throw your kitchen sink at the opponent, yours or anyone's. Usually it's the kitchen sink. I've gone for your kitchen sink. Either should work. And there could be another stroke there from Todd. He's all over it. Couldn't quite see the quality of Crouin's shot there from that angle. The referee says play, yes, Lat. Great hold. Three straight for Crouin.
Left in the period, 15 minutes. The score is 5-3 in favor of Lake Erie.
A quarter of the way through this first period, and the quality showing from Crouin. He's such a great straight line hitter and able to keep the ball so tight to the sidewalls. It's really been his calling card his whole career, especially collegiately, but since turning pro full-time, he's really added in the use of a lot of angles to his game, a lot more deception, not shy from throwing in the trickle boast here and there, or cross courts more frequently than what he has in the past. But just so tough to break down, so steady. In the best of 5 format, really tough for players ranked lower than him to pick up wins over him. next evolution for his game to continue to develop that attack and to be able to challenge the top players. And that's excellent touch from Sam Todd, feathering that backhand cross court into the front right to stop the onslaught from Crouin, who had rattled off 5 straight points there. Oh, and here's a bow straight out of the Leisure Center from Todd. He's going forward a little bit here. No more easing into this matchup, folks. These players are ready to go. Starting to get into the heart of this first period. It's a crucial point before the first substitution for either team. And Crouin with an absolute roller to pull back 3 ahead. Anything you can do, I can do better, says Victor Crouin. Todd with that little blow of the palm. It's become a signature for him. Maybe he has sweaty hands as I do out in the squash court. Trying to maintain control of that grip. It's something you see a lot in tennis. A lot of top tennis pros, for those watching Roland Garros this week, is that little puff into the palm. So Lake Erie now on power play. For the next 2 minutes, only Lake Erie can score. Looking to add to that lead. It was already 8-4 and put this thing away. And that's a roller from Crouin! What a shot. He hit one of those in the home match against Newport from a similar angle. Oh my goodness, again with a little mustard! Victor Crouin making it rain from Chicago. 2 in a row. Back to back for the French number 1. Absolutely scrumptious. He's talk about the kitchen sink. Knives, forks, and spoons. That's Sam Todd trying to dodge here for the next 62 seconds.
1 minute left in the power play. 1 minute.
And this is the excitement that the NSL format brings. In our second to last regular season matchup, Greenwich versus Philadelphia next week. Mustafa Sal in action. Oh, he's gone for it again with the flick. That's just quality. Elmer's glued to the sidewall from Crouin. Todd can't scrape it back up. It's been a 4-point power play for Crouin. Can he add one more?
10 seconds left in the power play. 10 seconds.
He's got the serve off before the end of the power play. This will be the final point of the power play no matter what. So no need to rush for Crouin here. Can take his time, and he understands that. Smart. A lot of players will rush that final point of the power play even though they don't have to. Oh, that is touch, touch, touch from both players. Excellent hands, and that must have been a tough shift there for Todd, who 8 minutes into his shift on court, a power play was called, so he's really out there just defending, trying to scrape balls back for 2 whole minutes, no substitutions allowed. And now, with 1 more second, he would have played the whole first half of the first period. Crouin has the Beacons in really good shape here. But lest we forget, Chicago still has over half the period remaining.
Chicago Grizzlies to serve.
And a power play still at their disposal. Here are Greg Marche and Bernat Jaume, the French number 2 and the Spanish number 2, duking it out here in this Grizzlies versus Beacons matchup. Marche currently residing as the world number 18. It's been as high as 11 in his career, and at 35 years old, Father Time hasn't caught up to him quite yet. One of the great movers in all of professional squash. Even in his mid-30s now. Four-time French national champion.
14-4.
Outside of Gregory Gaultier, of course, you look at Marche in that next tier of the great French squash players of all time. Entering perhaps the tail end of his career, but some great results this year. A quarterfinal finish at the Tournament of Champions.
15-4.
Has wins over Kareem Abdel-Gawad and Mohamed El Sherbagi this season, two former world champions and two of the great players of the 21st century. It's been a good year for Greg Marche here. His PSA season has come to a close. His NSL season in full swing here from Chicago. Jaume, residing at the world number 39 ranking, 29 years old. He's become a veteran of the Pro Tour, and a big win for him against Yusuf Solomon at the Australian Open a couple of months ago. And Marche, with a little cheeky smile, sent that ball rolling into the front right neck. And here Chicago goes on power play. This is the period. If Chicago wants to have a chance to come back, they need to make the most out of these next 2 minutes. Marche has got to go quickly here. And he's going to need at least 5 or 6 points to give Chicago a fighting chance in the final moments of the first. Of course, time squash, not something we're accustomed to in today's day and age. We had the Ram scoring system with Nick Matthew and Rami Ashur a couple of years ago that ended up sort of fading away, and the NSL is really the only professional squash product going with that timed clock. Interesting. Marche played that ball kind of right back to himself in the middle, but the referee must feel that Jaume didn't have his racket ready in time. No let. Interesting. It seems a little bit harsh, but we play on.
1 minute.
Oh. After a long exchange, Marche buried that ball in the bottom of the tin. That's exactly what Jaume is going to be looking for here. Long, extended rallies. Marche is going to really have to start going for stuff. He's going to start having to take balls off the half volley. He's going to have to start taking the ball in short earlier in these points. He's letting the ball go to the back and not taking many chances. This is the time to do it with your team on power play. And it's a great defense from Jaume, though. You got to give him credit. With 10 seconds to go, this might be the final point of the power play. And it will be. Power play is over. Gaultier with great touch in the front right. That should be a stroke if Jaume even got that ball back. Not quite sure. Definitely wouldn't put it past Bernat to pick up a double bounce or two over the course of his PSA career. And speaking of the British Open, which took place last week in Birmingham, is still going on. Of course, we have the finals tomorrow. But last week, Jaume with a massive 88-minute 5-game win over Kareem El-Hamami in the first round. It's a career win for the Spaniard, advancing to the second round after that result.
Left in the period, 5 minutes.
And Marche, even though he's not on power play, is going to have to start taking some risks here. Down 8 points, the clock is a factor. Make that 9. Jaume with a flick of the wrist, Steph Curry-esque. To Pull ahead 17-8. Lake Erie more than doubling up. Chicago here. The Grizzlies, winless in their franchise's history, the only winless team in the NSL in 2024. 2025 still looking for victory number 1. That's pretty from Marche, but it might just be too little too late. And here will be the final substitution for Lake Erie and Chicago. It's going to be another double substitution, and it'll be Nick Spizzirri and Xiao Yician to close things out for their respective teams. These two played number 1 for their respective universities at the same time with considerable overlap. Nick Spizzirri, a 2-time national champion and 3-time All-American at the University of Pennsylvania, just graduated earlier this spring. Xiao Yician graduated from Yale University this time last year, where he played number 1 his senior year. These two each made it to the semifinals of the College Squash Individual National Championships in 2024, but were on opposite sides of the draw. Lost out to Veer Chutrani and Mohammad Sharaf, respectively. But a part of 2 of the powerhouse programs in pro squash, and each electing to give the Pro Tour a crack. This is Spizzirri's first NSL action, drafted by Lake Erie at the 2025 NSL draft in Charlottesville a couple weeks ago. Had to ride the bench for Lake Erie's home match in Newport, getting a shot here with a playoff spot on the line for the Beacons. It's a big-time spot for him. His task here to hold on to this 9-point lead over the course of the next 2.5 minutes and secure a first period victory for the Beacons. It looks like Xiao's not really looking to claw all the way back here. He's not trying to play fast. He's really just trying to use this as an opportunity to ease into the match and get himself ready for the second period. Spizzirri just looking to create some long exchanges here, and Xiao says, you know, okay, we're gonna have to drop this first period, but let me get into my groove a little bit here, so I'm ready to go. And honestly, each of these two guys will have only played for 3.5 minutes to close out the first period. I wouldn't be surprised if these two end up starting the second period for their teams, given that they're fresh and warm now, but that they have spent the least amount of time on court and allow the other guys to get a little bit of rest. Victor and Sam, who each put in 10-minute shifts to kick off the first period. Too much cumulative pressure over the course of that rally from Spizzirri, and finally the semi-forced, semi-unforced error from Xiao. Spizzirri, one of the bright spots for U.S. squash. Looking forward to seeing him in his first full-time year as a professional next season. Oh, trickle boast into the tin. It shouldn't matter, though. And we need the Chicago Grizzlies faithful to get on their feet here. Need some wind in the sails for the Grizzlies. That's an outrageous winner from Xiao. Perhaps a confidence booster heading into period number 2. Much needed for him and the Grizzlies here. been a bit of a Nick fest here in the first period. No, I don't mean Spazieri. I mean
Handout 22-12.
Nick. Is Nick? I guess I've always thought of the Nick of the squash court as K-N-I-C-K, as in the New York Knickerbockers, like the Nick. But that's, I don't know if that's true. It might just be the N-I-C-K. Maybe some of our friends in the live chat can help us out there. But as we hit double zeros here in the first period, Lake Erie jumps out to a 1-0 lead after the opening period. Spazieri closing it out for the Lake Erie Beacons. Can Chicago claw back in period number 2? Stay tuned to find out. You're watching the NSL on YouTube.
Gentlemen, we're here with the head coach of the Lake Erie Beacons, Will Hopkins. Will, quick start in the first period. You know you need this win. Win, you're in. You're on to Philadelphia at the end of the month. Talk about how you're going to handle the rest of this match going forward.
Yeah, I think it's huge for us to make it here, having just played in Birmingham this week, and certainly we're looking to use this quality and experience as much as we can for this match.
Good luck, Will. Best of luck. All right, we got everyone take their seats, please. Everyone take their seats. We're getting ready to start the second period. Please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please clear this area in front of the court. All the players will be coming through. Please take your seats. To the start of the second quarter. 30 seconds. Starting this period for the Lake Erie Beacons, we have Nick Spazieri, and for your Chicago Grizzlies, Greg Marche. Lake Erie Beacons to serve. Love off.
Welcome back for period 2 of NSL action here at the University Club of Chicago between the hometown favorite Chicago Grizzlies and the visiting Lake Erie Beacons. Chicago playing for pride at this point, looking to pick up their first win in franchise history. Meanwhile, the Beacons, with a lot on the line, they control their destiny. A win and they're in to the National Squash League playoffs coming up in a couple weeks in Philadelphia. A loss, they're going to be sent packing back to Cleveland, Ohio, their home base, with their season over and their ball in their lap. It's because they've taken their ball and gone home, for those who perhaps didn't pick up on that reference, but there you go. The voice you heard Cheering on Nick Spizzirri a few moments ago is that of Will Hopton, the head coach of the Lake Erie Beacons, head pro at the Urban Squash Center in Cleveland. Yoni Ellis on the bench for the Chicago Grizzlies, the head pro here at the University Club of Chicago and director of squash. It's that high volley from Marche. We've seen him try to take that into the front right neck a couple of times, electing to go for the deep cross court there. That high volley that Spiz is making Marche hit a lot of here in the early going of this second period. One of the hardest shots in squash, to take that backhand volley over your head and control it. It's great width on the cross from Marche. After the Yeslet decision, that is the first point of this second period for Chicago. Would love to get on the board here in the second. Otherwise, they'll have to rely on winning the third and getting a stroke of fortune, perhaps, in the overtime penalty shootout. So it's pretty high-paced stuff compared to what we saw in the first period. It's getting a bit frantic here from Spizzirri. And try to settle down. Giving us a facial here. We have no arguing with the referees in the National Squash League. That is the policy, as Marche could have served there, and who knows if Spizzirri would have been warranted the Yeslet for not being ready. Got to play on, especially given that's not the first time this period. We got to keep things moving. He was upset about the apparent double bounce in the front left. I believe I saw it good. Have to see a replay to be sure. Giving up the stroke later in the rally against the four-time French national champion, the acrobat Greg Marche. So great to see him here in the National Squash League for the first time. Such an exciting playing style. There's a fist pump from Spiz. Maybe Spiz, even though he's on the visiting team, having some support here from the Grizzlies as the sole American in this matchup. Right now, all the National Squash League teams are in America, but who knows, maybe there'll be a little bit of expansion. Maybe Canada, Mexico, start with North America, or even expand beyond that. If you're a fan of the NSL, maybe comment down below in the live chat, where would you like to see a National Squash League team in the future? We went from 6 to 9 in the inaugural season in 2024 to this season here in 2025. Lake Erie actually one of the new expansion teams and looking to find themselves in the playoffs in the first season of their franchise's history.
Minutes left in the period. 15 minutes.
I don't know if that's the right line to the ball there. I mean, Marche just played a
For the Lake Erie Beacons.
tight drive down the backhand. He will be the beneficiary of a Yeslet. Can hear him there, the GoPro giving us a little insight into the wise words of Will Hopton. How cool is that angle? So Spizzirri comes off. It's the first of two substitutions for Lake Erie. And on comes Victor Crouin. It's the French #1 versus the French #2 now. These two battled it out at the French Nationals this year. Crouin coming away with the victory after a tight 3-game exchange. still chasing Marche's 4 French national championships. I believe he's at 3 at the moment. So we may have to fact check that out. There's a roller from Marche, saying bonjour to his French national teammate. But today, their opponents, their adversaries here in the NSL, Chicago, looking in really good shape here in the early going of period number 2, as now one substitution in, we're entering the heart of the period. It's time for Crouin to make a move. Maybe Lake Erie will look to call a power play here to stop the bleeding. But it's been all acrobat here in the first 6 minutes of the second. And this is what's tough about the NSL. You better be warm and you better be ready to check on the court. But even that being said, nothing can prepare you for just getting on court and just having no warm-up whatsoever. You really do have to ease into the course of this match. Meanwhile, Marche, warm and feeling fluid and in the swing of this match already. On the flip side, though, he's got to be starting to feel a little fatigued. Almost 7 minutes on court now with the frantic pace of the NSL. We don't see as much easing into things in the NSL as we do in best-of-5 squash because of the clock and because these players know that they're only going to be on court for a finite amount of time. They want to make the most of their minutes on court. See a generally higher pace here in the NSL than in traditional best-of-5. Clipping the top of the tin there is Marche on the straight drop. Tried to feather that in and leave it really close to the front wall, but makes the error. And here's the power play for Lake Erie. Now, if you think about it, Chicago's still going to have their power play after this, so Lake Erie is really going to want to cut this deficit to 1 or draw even after this power play. There's 1 for Crouin on the backhand. Volley cross drop. There's 2 in quick fashion. 2 points in 20 seconds for Lake Erie on the power play. Uh-oh, and that's 3. Know how quickly this Chicago lead appears to be slipping away. Mustard! Once again from Crouin. Oh my goodness. Taking it to his French counterpart. I mean, this is a blistering attack from Minsois Victor Crouin. On pace to set a record for most points on a power play in NSL history. On pace to crush the record, quite frankly. I mean, talk about getting your team back into a period. This is how a power play can completely change the trajectory of a period here in the NSL. There's the back wall boast for Marche. A chance for Victor. Simple straight drive there, read by Marche. This is a big-time rally. The stroke given up. But it doesn't matter. Crouin serves again. When a team is on power play, I should have mentioned, they serve every rally. Oh, here's a little fan cross Nick. He's going for it again. And he's going to pick up the ball. See, that's smart. He picked up the ball, knew he was in a defensive position. Let me pick up the ball, serve, and start again. Start back at neutral instead of taking 5 or 10 seconds to try to work myself back into a neutral position. It's a high IQ play from Crouin. He's definitely a veteran of this format. Played in the first ever NSL exhibition last year in Nashville. The 3rd overall pick in the 2025 NSL draft by the Beacons. And here comes Sam Todd. It's going to be a rematch of the first period. Great angle. Just jockeying up and down that backhand side. Todd actually in control of this rally, putting Crouin under just a little bit more pressure. taking a couple extra volleys. And he could also do that. Stretch out for a back wall boast. Offense, defense, whatever the doctor orders. Sam Todd's got you covered. So talented. Would be pretty surprised to not see him in the World Top 50 this time next year. We mentioned earlier, British Junior Open champion. It's a very prestigious title that has a trophy which adorns the names of some of the greatest players to ever pick up a racket. He's in great company. Good hands with the great James Willstrop, and looking to put on a show here in his second NSL matchup. He's got some work to do. Down 2 now after the Crouin power play. I mean, that's one of the most explosive power plays that I feel like I've seen here in the NSL. Pretty special stuff from Crouin, showing that he is far from just an attritional defensive player from once upon a time at Harvard. He has really added that attacking element to his game. It's got to be a stroke.
And out 9-11.
And it will be. Cutting the deficit to 1. Now Chicago still has a power play in their back pocket, right on cue. Chicago calls their power play. Another crucial point here in this second period. 2 minutes for Todd to really go for it here. And Crouin had a really long shift in the first period. Now on the back end of his shift here in the second, perhaps has some heavy legs here, which should play into Todd's favor. He is the fresher man in this exchange. Checked on a couple minutes after Victor did. And of course, he's going to be the one attacking, spending a little bit more time around the tee. That is excellent touch. Left that ball so tight, so far up, close to the front wall. Little flick there into the tin. That was an excellent backhand drop shot. A rally ago, however. Sam Todd, the winner of the Chicago Open 15K earlier this year, so he's got to be a fan of this city. Back now in his second NSL match of the year for the Grizzlies.
Seconds left in the power play. 30 seconds.
Once again, that high backhand volley fan shot over your head, whether it's going long or short, requires such high levels of skill and accuracy. And Todd's played that really well, but Crouin has picked it right back up and hung in this rally.
10 seconds left in the power play. 10 seconds.
Yeah, so Todd's going to want to try to finish this rally soon. Go for broke, whether you hit a 10 or a winner, and then try to serve again. Want to get at least 2 more points on the power play. That's got to be a no lead, I feel like. Crouin went the wrong way.
That is the end of the power play.
Oh, and they will give a let. That is brutal for Todd as the power play comes to a close. Great power play defense there from Crouin. You saw that excellent backhand drop from Todd. Such great hands and such soft touch into the front. Speaking of touch, that is excellent from Crouin on the forehand drop shot. Even better, though, from Todd on the counter drop. Onto it so early, so explosive. And he's got a... I mean, he's left that probably less than 12 inches from the front wall, just leaving it up so close there. That being said, great defense work from Crouin on the power play. And now we're knotted up at 12. Neither team with a power play remaining. Each team with 1 substitution at their disposal. Should they decide to use it, you'd imagine they will. The question is when, as we're under 5 minutes here in the second. For Chicago, we've yet to see Xiao Yician this period. For Lake Erie, we've yet to see Bernard Jean. I imagine those two will be closing things out. So Victor breathing heavy now. As you can see, the veins coursing in his forehead. Here's the world number 39. Looking to close things out. As Xiao stays on the bench for now. Sam Todd, a little bit fresher than Victor.
14-13.
He's going to look to hang on here in the second for as long as he can.
14-14.
It's kind of an awkward bounce, awkward movement. Good Todd. Oh, that's excellent from Jom, and that's smart from Yoni Ellis. You saw a little bit of fatigue there in those last couple rallies, evident for Todd, and Yoni Ellis saying, we are wasting no time. We're going to get the man with the freshest legs in this match, Xiao Yician, into this thing. He's played less than 3.5 minutes so far to close out that first period. He was put in an impossible position, down double digits with only a few minutes to go. He decided to just try to ease into the match, not really go for too much, not try to claw his team back and pull off a miracle, just get himself ready for the second. It's make or break now. All tied up here in period number 2.
16-15.
Gets a stroke. Oh, touch. That is an excellent backhand drop shot from Xiao Yician. Feathered into the front, left up short, fading into the sidewall at the top of the bounce. Can't do it any better. And off the clever trickle boast from Xiao, the lob attempt just sails out for Jom. Spazieri, a little cheeky, great job there, as we heard our mics picked up. Maybe not happy with his Beacon teammate. And Xiao now building a little bit of a cushion. Here's a chance with that ball in the middle. It's really dictating traffic here. Kind of hovering around that tee. And Jom seems to be the one under more pressure. But just as I say that, looks as though Xian's length may be bouncing a little bit short here, and Jom beginning to take a little bit of control. This is a massive, massive rally. Lake Erie really needs this with just about 100 seconds to go if they want to stay in this period. Feathery touch into the front right. This is becoming a massive, massive rally, a mega rally. The winner of this rally going to get a huge vote of confidence. If Jom wins it, he could end up stealing a couple quickies on the heels of... Oh, that is so good. Bang, bang, front left. Xiao barely scrapes it back. Just punishing him into the front right. Just excellent attack from the Spaniard, and just like that, that ball sailing out. Jom's going to want to go now. Xiao reeling a little bit after that long rally and being on the losing end of it, and that ball sailing out. Don't give him time to reset. Keep him on his heels. Jom appearing to do just that. And just like that, I mean, if Xiao had won that rally, this period would be over, but Jom now has life. After that mega 18-15 rally. And now we're knotted up at 18 apiece. 25 seconds remain. The serve is off and away. If the clock expires during this rally, the winner of it will take period number 2. But there's an error. Jom is going to have to serve here. He's not going to be able to waste 12 seconds. So now this will, barring an unforced error early here, this will be the final point of the second period. If Chicago wins it, oh, there's a dive from Jom! Then we'll have a sudden death point. There's the lob. Back to neutral. Both players gutsy. Oh, that's a line and a half from Xiao. And how has he scraped that back? Jom off the back wall. Oh my goodness! Inch perfect whiz from Jom. Silences the crowd after being fully stretched in the back right. A back wall boast to keep the rally alive. And blasting that cross court around the reach of the backhand of the Malaysian Xiao Yisian. Lake Erie with Chicago on their heels. The Grizzlies have never won a match in the history of the National Squash League. They need a third period victory and a shootout win to take it. You're watching the NSL on YouTube. Welcome back to the University Club of Chicago, where in the waning moments of that second period, Bernat Jom clawed back. It's down 18-15 with just over 90 seconds to go in the period. Was on the winning end of a mega rally. Was able to draw even at 18 apiece. Then took a 19-18 lead. Served with about 7 seconds remaining in the period. A couple of outrageous dives later, he comes away on the better end of the 19-18 rally to secure that second period for the Beacons. The Grizzlies on their heels at risk of ending their 2025 NSL season without a victory for the second season in a row. Meanwhile, the Beacons on the precipice of a playoff berth and a North Division title. If Lake Erie is victorious here, they will go to the playoffs, whether they win this third period or even if they lose this third period. If they're able to come through in an overtime shootout, they'll advance to the playoffs as the North Division champions. If they come up short, Newport will advance to the playoffs as the North Division champions. And in terms of other playoff implications, if Lake Erie wins this match, they will eliminate the New York City Knights from playoff contention. New York hoping to secure a wild card spot. The only way they can is with a Chicago victory. So if Chicago wins, they knock Lake Erie out of the playoffs, hence allowing the defending champion New York City Knights into the playoffs as the 4 seed, who will look to defend their championship at the Arlen Specter Center in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks' time.
1-1.
It's the Young Guns doing battle here to kick off the third. Nick Spizzirri, the 23-year-old Penn grad, and Sam Todd, the 23-year-old former British Junior Open champion. So Todd has served there. Yes, let given? Appears so. 1-1 here in the early going of the third. 3 long rallies to kick things off, and we could be in for a fourth. These two, like boxers, feeling each other out in the early going. Spizzirri now injecting some pace into the ball here. That's quality. Elmer's glued to the sidewall there. Fist pump as he looks back to his corner. He's not one to shy away from the fist pumps of Spizzirri. And commentating at the college team nationals earlier this year, I think we counted 12 fist pumps in one game for Spizzirri. At one point in the, not sure if it was the semifinal versus Trinity or the final against Yale. Loves a good old-fashioned fist pump. I think it was the semifinal. Can't say for certain, though. Safety first. These two big guys, but fluid movers for certain. That's great width. Once again from Spizzirri, he's really found his range. So here in the third period, as opposed to the first two, each team with an extra substitution and an extra power play. So in addition to that 2-minute power play each team has in the first and second, they have an extra 1-minute power play. Oh my goodness! A Spinneroonie! 360 slam dunk from Sam Todd. Oozing with talent here in Chicago. He has just shot the lights out, and you see it right there. I mean, what a treat for us to pay witness to this Sam Todd power play. 2 points already in under 30 seconds. And Chicago will still have another 60-second power play to use at some point later in this period. I hope he's the one on it. There's the 10. No harm, no foul, though. And just like that, the power play has come to a close. Frustration etched across the face of the American Nicholas Spazzieri. But the young British star, Sam Todd, coming away. Thrilled with that exchange. Looked like that high cross almost sailed out from Spazzieri. That backhand cross on the right outline mark, but it's called in. He ends up winning the rally.
Stop play, substitution for Lake Erie.
Nicholas Spazzieri
Substitution for Lake Erie.
has done enough complaining for the whole Lake Erie team here this afternoon.
Substitute for the Grizzlies. Greg Marche.
Victor Crouin coming in for the Beacons. I've never been sure if it's Crouin or Qua. I've heard a couple people go for Qua. I think as an American, I think you hear Crouin more often. Victor said Crouin, he said Qua, depending on who he's talking to. His former Harvard teammate and NSL co-founder has used both Crouin and Qua before. I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Crouin because that's how I read it. And maybe that's the American pronunciation. Of course, don't want to be disrespectful. So maybe someone in the live chat can let me know. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to hear? Do you want to hear Crouin or Qua? Now it's French number 1 and French number 2 back on court. These two have played a few times this year. Victor hasn't lost to Greg. Played in the finals of the French Nationals and at the Houston Open in Texas, both earlier on in 2025. Greg may be looking to extract a little bit of revenge. French national team. European runners-up.
9-8.
At the hands of Team England this year. It's a line from Marche, the little apology there. He kind of boxed out Crouin, but he's taking up his space off the loose Crouin shot. Inch perfect on that backhand drive. He's hitting it into a big target there, was Marche, but still well executed to cut the deficit to 1. As we're almost a third of the way through this third period. Chicago needs it to draw even and force a penalty shootout. Lake Erie, if they come out on top with this third period, they're your North Division champions, and they're headed to the NSL playoffs at the end of the month. Okay, so for those listening at home and for those keeping score, we've received official confirmation from the head coach of the Atlanta Tornadoes and friend of the National Squash League, Celia Pashley, who's just one of the greatest people to work with here at the NSL. And Celia has let us know, as a fellow French woman of these two, that is Victor Crouin. I hope I didn't butcher that, is the correct French pronunciation. And I think from here on out, I think that we owe him that. We'll ride with Billy B. We'll ride with Timmy and the rest of the crew, and I think that's how it's going to be. So now Lake Erie is going to go on power play. It'll be Crouin with 60 seconds to make some magic happen for his Beacons team. Interesting strategy for Will Hopton here, responding after the 2-minute power play from Chicago. Here's the 1-minute power play from Lake Erie. Marche looks like those legs are maybe a little bit heavy. So Victor could actually take advantage here in a brief amount of time. Yeah, Chicago's going to want a substitution after these 30 seconds. Can Marche hang on?
30 seconds left.
He looks just a step slow, whether it's going to the front or the back. And you look at that split step, and it just doesn't have that same juice that it had a couple of minutes ago. Oh, delicious. And how has Marche gotten that back on heavy legs? And there's the air. That was a great pickup from Marche off that volley straight shot. The power play's over, and Marche is going to stay out there. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's breathing just fine. Maybe those legs are all right. But he just seems a little fatigued to me. Oh, did that go up? Oh, wow! Flickaroo! Oh, Marche, what a shot. Thought he was going to maybe elect for a high boast to try to just get himself back to the tee there, just flick that ball up. No, he's going straight for the spot 3 inches above the tin there on the straight drop with that flick. No need to reset the rally when he could play that shot. I'm still not over it a few rallies later now. Jackson Bragmans of the world are burying that ball into the 10 times out of 10. So bravo to Marche, who's still down 3. Oh, Victor.
16-12.
Air Victor. Leaves his feet for that slam dunk into the nick. Marche. Oh, just makes the error.
12.
He's frustrated. Interestingly enough, he seems, he is one of the fitter players on tour. He's one of the better movers. I think he had a couple labored movements because Quad just had some excellent holds there from the front, and felt like Marche was on his heels a little bit. Now it looks like he's reset and he's found his footing again. But still seems to be struggling a little bit out there, trying to inject a little bit more pace into it now. Now here's Xiao Yician, the Yale graduate. This could be an opportunity for Lake Erie to really lay it on Chicago. If Chicago can hang in these next 4 or 5 minutes and be even with the Beacons, as there's another absolute ripper from Crouin. He's hit about half a dozen of those today that have just rolled like marbles. I mean, this is just pretty awesome to watch. Power play or not, from Crouin. Forehand or backhand, it matters not. And on that note, Chicago just wants to hang around here. They just don't want to find themselves in a big hole after this shift from Xiao. Just given the experience gap, the raking gap, and honestly the level gap. That is really tight, though. From the Malaysian, who's losing with potential, but still so young and early on in his professional career. And now here's another power play for Lake Erie, a 2-minute power play, and Will Hopton says, let's end it right here. Let's beat these Grizzlies into submission. Already up 3 points with 2 minutes to really lay it on here. This is so smart from Hopton, I feel. There's another one. Xiao is out there on an island. He's going to fight with everything he's got. Yeah, no let given there. It's the right decision. Oh, Victor is just so accurate. Those shots, and there it is. A great lob from Xiao. He's playing great defense now, and Victor says, I'm going to pick it up and start over. In a defensive position, so smart from Crouin. I mean, he may be one of the best power play specialists in the NSL. You wouldn't think of him in that way. Oh, that is just absolutely scrumptious. James Willstrop-esque from the back left. Feathering that straight drop in. It appears Spizzeri sarcastically cheering for the opposing team. Interesting tactics from the American. Flick into the tin there from Kwa. But man, oh man, has Victor been just so impressive on power play tonight. He's the reason that Lake Erie has been as dominant as they have. Without his power plays, we might be even at 1-1, and Chicago might be leading in this period. I mean, it's made that big of a difference. 5 points on this power play. Make it 6 for Kwa. I mean, he is lighting up the Malaysian. Good sportsmanship there from the Frenchman. Here comes Bernat Jaume.
So good, Xiao.
It's a well-worked rally from Xiao. Needed that badly. It's an error. The Grizzlies have life. Down only 7. They do still have their 2-minute power play at their disposal. They're going to have to use it really wisely. And I think they're going to want Sam Todd to be the man on that power play. Greg Marche in his first NSL match had a power play opportunity and didn't really understand the assignment. Was kind of trying to still rally things out. Todd, such great hands. I feel like he has to be the man to take that power play, and it's going to be a crucial point in this match when it comes. Right now, Chicago just doesn't want to fall in any bigger of a hole than they're in right now.
Let's go. 26-18.
Here we go.
27-18.
Shot, and Seattle looks gassed. It's a big-time exchange. John with a tight backhand volley drive. Seattle says no mas. There's great width on the cross court. Seattle ECN has to get off this court right now. I mean, he is absolutely cashed. Can't believe he's not doubled over right now. He's given a good fight. He's obviously a tremendous player. We know this. He's a bright future as a professional. 3-time All-American at Yale. But he is outmatched right now. Not so fast. It's that cross backhand volley drop, but yeah. It's probably a couple rallies too late on the Seattle substitution. At the end of the day, he is, by a wide margin, their lowest ranked player. I feel that he spent just a little bit too much time on court there, as talented as he is.
To 29.
This thing.
Stop play. We have a power play for the Grizzlies.
So is it yes like given?
1 minute power play.
So it was a stroke to Jom. So now we have the final power play of this third period. 1 minute for Sam Todd to do some damage. He would love a good 4 points here to give himself a fighting chance. There's one. 45 seconds to go. This is crucial. If Jom is able to defend here and shut Todd out for the remainder of this power play, it's going to be really tough for Chicago to claw back into this thing. Is that a lead even? Jom getting out the fishing rod a little there. I think either a yes lead or a stroke was given. So point was not added to Todd's score. Good defense there from Jom. I think he is right. He was supposed to serve from the left service box, but we've seen players do that a lot. Serve from the same service box 2 times in a row on power play. There's another winner from Todd. This is the final point of the power play. A huge point. Absolutely huge rally. He's played that. He didn't have to, Todd. Oh, and that ball into the tin. Only 2 points on that 1 minute power play. It can be really tough to get going on that 1 minute power play. It's such a small amount of time to go into attack mode.
Stop play. We have a substitution for the Lake Erie
I
Beacons.
think you'd almost rather have... You'd much rather have one 3-minute power play than a 2-minute and a 1 minute. No question about it. That stop and start and 1 minute is a challenge for sure. Now, so now here comes Crouin. I believe that's the final substitution for Lake Erie now. We started with Spizziri, then we went Crouin, and then Jean, and back to Crouin. Sam Todd on now. He is the final sub for the Chicago Grizzlies. Open the period. Then we saw Marche, then Seau, now back to Todd. The no-look from Todd there into the front right. There's the Willstrop fake! Pulling it out against the Willstrop prodigy is Crouin with the fake, the hold, and the inch-perfect drive into the back right. Sending a message, perhaps, to the world number one, who probably has bigger things to worry about. Probably not watching, as it's 1 a.m. in Great Britain right now, and his star pupil does have a final in the most prestigious tournament of the PSA calendar tomorrow. But what a shot from Crouin. Perhaps an exclamation point on this victory for Lake Erie. 4-0 potentially, unless Todd has something to say about it. Firing into the front right in response. Oh, it's frantic here in the midcourt. Oh, touch. It's a drop shot contest in the front right. This is turning into a mega rally. Heavy legs for Todd. He's chased that ball down the backhand line. Will he get the let? He will. He will. Clock becoming a factor now. That ball gorilla glued to the sidewall from Crouin. Top of the bounce, fading right into the side. Todd taking a shot because he knows that the clock is a factor here. And now this lead has ballooned out to 10 points. Double digits for the Beacons. Chicago needs a miracle to come back here. Todd with another error. Crouin sighs a breath of relief. The Frenchman is just over 3 minutes from sending his team to the NSL playoffs. Oh. Just so tight into the front right. Front left from Crouin. Sorry about that, folks, but I'm just mesmerized by the squash. He's been so good attacking today. We know his base game is strong. That's been the stereotype on him for years, but I noticed really starting last year, starting to add some more angles into his game. Adding the trickle boast, adding the cross court more and more. And it appears that this year he's found shots like that. Straight kills into the nick off bounce back wall opportunities on the forehand. Todd with a subtle little hold on the forehand volley. Not shabby, Mr. Todd, but perhaps too little too late. As his team's still down a dozen here in the third. A great movement there.
38-25. We have 2 minutes left in the match, ladies and gentlemen. 2 minutes left in the match.
2-minute warning from Bill Buckingham. As Crouin looking to put the exclamation point on a convincing 4-0 victory for the Lake Erie Beacons, who in their inaugural season as an expansion team are headed to the NSL playoffs, thus eliminating the New York City Knights from playoff contention. New York's season, unfortunately, has come to a close. We will not have back-to-back NSL champions. And Lake Erie will join their division compadres, the Newport Dragons. In the postseason, as well as the South Division champions, the Atlanta Tornadoes. Next week, the Philadelphia Lightning are going to look to clinch their spot in the playoffs if they can take down
30 seconds.
the Greenwich Panthers.
42.
Be that fourth team. They would have a nice hometown support system if they do make the playoffs, as the Arlen Specter Center in Philadelphia, the U.S. National Team Training Center, will play host to the NSL playoffs for the second season in a row. We, of course, have 4 amazing women's teams that'll be in the NSL playoffs as well. 6 matches in one weekend. Make sure to stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the NSL on YouTube. Smash the like button if you like what you saw today. Victorious and into the postseason, Victor Crouin, Nicholas Spizziri, Bernat Jaume, led by head coach Will Hopton, into the 2025 playoffs. The Lake Erie Beacons, Bill Buckingham, rocking those suave glasses. It's a good look for you, Sir Bill. I'm going to throw things over to you before we come on back to close out the show. Congratulations to Lake Erie. Victorious 4-0 over the Chicago Grizzlies.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear a big round of applause for your Chicago Grizzlies. Advancing to the playoffs in Philly, the Lake Erie Beacons. New coach Will Hopkins, Will, first season for the Lake Erie Beacons, and you are on into the playoffs at the Specter Center in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're stoked about that. It was such a tough match 2 weeks ago with Newport, but we're really excited with the guys pulled it out, and big crowd, especially for Victor getting out there so fast for this
Biggest point of the match, biggest segment of the match. In the waning moment, second period, down 3 points. Bernat came on, took the last 4 points of the quarter to give you guys a 2-love lead. You held that lead and went on. Bernat, come over here. Just an amazing performance against the young player who was playing well. You took the 4 points of the quarter, gave your team the 2-love lead.
Yeah. I also love the first quarter, so I get back to the real team that I already something. But yeah, important more than much is 20 years.
What people don't realize, you just played pretty shortly. This is a very tough quarterfinals to go making. You hopped on a plane from England, made it over here to Chicago, and led your Birdies to the playoffs in Philadelphia. Congratulations.
Thank you. I came with
This was coming off 3 years
So victorious by a score of 4-0 are the Lake Erie Beacons. They hand the Chicago Grizzlies their second 4-0 loss of the season. Chicago, as a franchise, over the course of these last 2 seasons, they're 0-4 in NSL regular season matches. So Lake Erie is headed to the playoffs. They're the North Division champions. Newport, with 6 points on the season and a 1-1 record, has clinched the wild card spot with this Lake Erie victory. And those 2 teams will join the undefeated 2-0 Atlanta Tornadoes, who clinched a playoff berth in Louisville a couple of weeks ago against the Derby City Colts. So those are the 3 teams: Lake Erie, Newport, and Atlanta. The final spot will come from the victors of the East Division, which contains the Philadelphia Lightning, the Greenwich Panthers, and the New York City Knights. A lot up in the air when it comes to those matchups. I believe that all 3 of those teams are actually still in contention. The New York City Knights 1-1 on the season, 5 points. The Philadelphia Lightning 1-0 on the season with 2 points. Greenwich 0-1 with 1 point. So if Philadelphia wins, they're in. That matchup next week in Greenwich. My friend Sean Choi and our friend Paul Johnson will be on the call for that one. Can't wait to watch. And Philadelphia does control their own destiny, because if they're 2-0, they're in, no matter what. I think New York would need some help from Greenwich. They would need a Greenwich win. And if Greenwich wins by a score of 3-1, or if they win in a shootout, then New York would be in the playoffs. The question is if Greenwich wins 4-0, then Philadelphia would be eliminated, but both Greenwich and New York would be 1-1 on the season. They would each have 5 points. So then you would have to go into point difference, and it depends by how wide of a margin Greenwich wins that matchup against Philadelphia next week. Currently on the season, after 2 matches, New York has a plus-minus of +3. After all the points they played, they're only +3 total. Greenwich -2. So you'd think that a Greenwich victory by a score of 4-0 would mean that they would have to, almost mathematically, unless they win each period by 1 point, it means that Greenwich would probably find themselves in the playoffs. So that's the situation. So virtually, Philadelphia with a win, they're in. Greenwich with a 3-1 or 2-2 shootout victory means New York is in. And a 4-0 victory for Greenwich, barring some incredibly unforeseen circumstances, would mean that the Panthers are in to the postseason. So looking forward to watching that one. That'll be the final matchup of the NSL regular season. But Lake Erie in, Newport in, Atlanta in. The playoff picture is starting to shape up. We're hoping to see these teams at full strength. We're hoping to see Victor Crouin, Mohamed El Sherbagi, and Miguel Rodriguez at the Spectre Center at the end of the month. The stars of the 3 playoff teams thus far. Perhaps Mustafa Sal will join them if the Panthers are able to come up big with a 4-0 win next weekend in Greenwich. So that's the playoff picture. Dominant from Lake Erie. Super impressed with Victor Crouin, as we learned is his name today. The Harvard alumni. He's accomplished so much at such a young age. Only 24 years old is Crouin. 25, rather. I apologize. He'll be 26 next week, actually. I was looking at the wrong name there. So early happy birthday to Victor, as we are looking forward to seeing him at the Spectre Center at the end of the month. It's a pleasure watching him at the British Open and all season long. Leading his team to victory here at the University Club of Chicago. So one final time, congrats to your North Division champs, the Lake Erie Beacons. For Bill Buckingham and our wonderful production crew doing their best to make some magic happen at the U Club here this evening. There are 3 weddings going on at the University Club of Chicago, and our technical team doing all they could to maximize the connection at their disposal and put on the best show for you that they could. So huge shout out to Micah Mills and Sander and Ashby and all the people involved that helped make this happen. My name is Jackson Bragman. We'll see you guys next week in Greenwich, and we'll see you guys later this month at the NSL playoffs in Philadelphia. Thank you for watching the NSL on YouTube.